Number is okay. There's just something he's not doing right.
Okay, so I'm going to look at a brief introduction of SQL Server. Then I'll look at the basics of using SQL Server.
So Toma, like emails that are not going or just that particular one? As in it's not opening or you're not able to send. Is your team viewer ID? Share the team viewer ID and password.
Okay.
Have you from morning or you've been you've managed to do everything?
Okay, so in this session, I want to briefly look at SQL Server as a database server and just give you a brief appreciation. Then identify some of the tools and then look at how you can access data, or in a nutshell, how you can create a simple table and retrieve the data which is in the table. SQL Server is a database engine. Now, when we say database engine, we first need to understand what we mean by a database. A database is a logical collection of information that is related in some ways. So when you have a set of information relating to probably a particular subject and you collect that information, that forms a database. For example, in a school environment, you collect information about students, their names, date of birth, their addresses, names of their parents, the grades in which they are, the subjects are doing, the performance in different subjects, and so on. All that information, when you collect that information, that forms a database. Another example is a library. It could be a public library. You have books which are loaned out to members at a specific intervals or under certain conditions. That information about the books, the members, and the loaning out of those books to members, that will form a database. Okay. So a database is a collection of information that is logically connected and arranged in some way. Now, with the coming of computers, most of the database are computerized. That is, the information is stored and accessed by means of computers. So when we look at such databases, they are, in a sense, not different from the other types of databases like what you used to find in, we got into the principal's office, you find a cabinet with files for each of the students arranged according maybe to the year in which they were in that school and so on. but now we have computerized databases. There are different types of databases. The most common type of database is called relational database. In a relational database, data is arranged according to in form of tables, and then relationships are established between those tables. So you can have a table for students, you can have a table for tutors or teachers, you can have a table for subjects, and you establish relationship between among these tables. Maybe one student can belong to one class, and one class can have multiple students. You can have one subject which is being taken by a number of students, and so on. So that's a relational database. The software that is used to manage databases, by manage, I mean the software that is used to create the database, the software that is used to update information in the database, the software that is used to change the information in the database. That software is referred to as database software or database management system. And there are a number of such software used for database management. And Microsoft SQL Server is one of such database software or database management systems. So when we're talking about SQL Server, we're talking about the software that is used to manage databases. And this is software that is produced by a company called Microsoft. There are other database management systems provided by different companies. A popular one is Oracle. Oracle is a proprietary database management system software. But there is also MySQL or MySQL. That is another popular database software that is used for managing databases. Now, Microsoft SQL Server consists of different components. Okay. The first one is the database engine, as we'll be saying, okay, which is going to be like the heart of the server. Okay. Microsoft uses this software to provide organizations and individuals a platform that can be used to effectively manage information. This information could be about customers. The information could be about employees. It could be about stock items in a shop or in a warehouse. All these can be managed by using a database management system. One other aspect of managing databases is to provide security. We know that information is critical to the operations of an organization. And so it is essential that organizations have control over the information that they are keeping. And this information should only be revealed to people who need to have access to it. And even then, you may need to control the level to which someone can have access to information. Are you getting me? Bernard, are you getting me?
Hello?
Are you getting me?
Yes, sir, I'm following, sir.
Okay.
I'm following.
Okay. Just at where you are, there's a bit of noise okay. So we're saying that database software can be used to manage databases. And one aspect is the storage of information. The other aspect is security. Who should have access to that information and the level to which they can access information. In certain cases, some people will only need to be able to view part of the information. In some cases, some individuals may need to be able to change information. So that aspect is managed by the database management software. SQL Server consists of a number of components, like I mentioned. The first one is the database engine, which is the core or the heart of the database service. Then there is integration services, analysis services, reporting services, and master data services. A database engine provides support to store, query, process, and secure data on a database server. So when you create databases, there is the function of the database engine to ensure that that database is stored where it can be secure. It's the function of the database engine to control who can have access to which part of the database. Okay. The database engine in SQL Server will also provide some background services. A service in this case means the software that runs in the background to ensure that the computer is able to provide the necessary conducive environment for you to be able to do the work. And the common services provided include the service broker, the application, full text search, and notification services. Service broker provides support for asynchronous communication between the client and the database server. In other words, when applications and users are querying, trying to access data from the database engine, it's the service broker which is going to ensure that there is harmony in the way information is being accessed. So it's going to put the request in a set of a queue, and then it will be transmitting these as soon as the service is available. Okay. So broker here is used in the sense of being able to allow the sharing, just like we talk about insurance broker. The insurance broker is a person or company that will help a client access insurance services. So in a similar way, applications that you are going to be developing as software developers will need to have access to the database. And for them to have access to the database, the service broker is the service that is going to ensure that these applications are able to access the parts of the database which they need. Service broker enables reliable query processing, the processing of queries of information from the database, as can be seen from the diagram here. So when you write programs, you can write program, another person can write a program. What I mean is there could be an accounts application, and there could be maybe a human resource management application. There could be a stock control application. All these applications are going to be accessing the same database, but maybe different parts of the database. So when they are sending requests to access those parts of the database, it's the service broker which is going to ensure that all these applications have access to their requests are performed and communicated back. Okay, so that's the service broker, which is, we're saying in the database there are these following services. There is a service broker, duplication, full text search, notification. And we're saying that service broker is a service that supports communication between the clients, such as applications, and the database server. Duplication allows you to copy and distribute data and database objects from one database server to another. In corporate environments, you may install the server software on multiple machines. And to ensure that the information which is held on all these machines which are part of the same database is the same, there is a duplication service which is going to make sure that if you create a table on one database, that table is going to appear in other databases located on different machines. Excuse me, just a moment. Yes. Yes. Yes.
I came to find out how much is it worth to pick up the system.
Go to the library. Sorry, I'm online. Okay. Okay, so that's the duplication. It allows the data and the database objects to be duplicated so that they are found in all the instances of the database. Full text search is a service that can be implemented so that users are able to search for data easily and fast. So you can have users searching for data using similar words or opposite words or part of the words. So when you want to allow users to be able to easily search for information, you can implement or make use of the full text search service. Notification service allows you to generate and send notification messages to the users of the database or to the administrators about events that are happening. For example, when there are errors, an application is trying to access a table which has been deleted or which is not available, there will be a message which will be generated that can be communicated to the software or to the application by means of the notification services. Notification services also allow developers to build notification applications that send timely and personalized information updates to help the computer users experience. That is the people who are accessing the database. So if there is something that has gone wrong with maybe the user is trying to search for in a table which does not exist, instead of giving an error message which might be very technical, the software developer can use the notification service to provide a message which is easy for the ordinary computer users to understand what is wrong and what they can do to avoid such errors. Okay, this figure shows these services or the components of SQL Server. I hope you can see that. Okay.
Yeah, a bit, sir. Maybe try to zoom it a bit.
Unfortunately, I can't make it bigger than this.
Okay.
You can watch the video. I'm recording, so you can watch a video and have a look at that in detail.
All right.
Okay, so we're saying the database consists of a number of services, and I briefly looked at some of the services. And there is just a question that can jog your mind. You can have a question saying, which of the following components of SQL Server allows you to create and manage database objects? And you're given a number of these options, okay? I'm going to look at these services in later chapters. But for now, we have database engine, which we have been looking at. Integration service. We are going to look at integration service, I think in chapter 5, going to chapter 6. Analysis service has to do with it's a service which allows the server to be able to help in giving intelligent, useful information to database users, so that a database user can intelligently interpret the information which is being retrieved from the database. Reporting services is what we have already mentioned. It gives the ability to be able to get information or messages from the database. Okay. So when we're talking about creating or managing database object, that's the function of a database engine. Okay. Okay. SQL Server is also integrated with a development environment, which is supported, developed by Microsoft, which is .NET Framework. A development environment or framework is a set of tools that are developed to support the creation or writing of computer program, the testing, and the implementation of those programs. So Microsoft has its own development framework, and they call it .NET Framework. So database, the SQL Server is integrated with the .NET Framework. And as you can see from the diagram, the database engine has those services: service broker, replication, full text search, notification services. Then there is the integration service, which ensure that all these services are able to work harmoniously. Then analysis, that's a service that will allow the database users to be able to analyze data and make sense, for example, to see trends or patterns maybe in customer behavior. To do that, you can rely on the analysis service so that your system is able to retrieve information to help the users see the customer behavior patterns or trends. Then there's the reporting services and master data services at the bottom. The .NET framework is, like I said, is an environment for building, deploying, and running business application. It has its own collection of services and classes. Okay. And it consists of the following components. Again, I'll skip these. I'll come back to them at a later stage. SQL Server provides a number of features, and there you have a list of some of the key features that are provided. The first one is built-in support for extensible markup language data. Extensible markup language is a type of markup programming language, if I may put it that way, similar to HTML. I'm sure you're aware that HTML is also a markup language. It stands for Hypertext Markup Language. A markup language is a scripting language where you specify commands on how data should be displayed or formatted. So some information, which is structured information, can be in form of XML or extensible markup language that can easily be supported in SQL Server. Okay. CLR integration is another service provided. Scalability, service-oriented architecture. Service-oriented architecture simply means that SQL Server has been designed in such a way that it can provide services to a wide range of users in the form of a client-server architecture. Okay. There's support for web services. There is high level of security, that is, users accessing the database will be carefully authenticated. There will be limits on what your user can do, and so on. SQL Server also provide high availability. So if you are running a service which has to be up and running almost all the time, you can still rely on SQL Server. There's support for data migration and analysis, IntelliSense, policy-based management, and resource governance. SQL it stands for structured query language. It's a standard language used for databases. Now, because it's a standard, the manufacturers of database software will implement these standards when they are developing the software. But SQL itself as a standard consists of a number of categories. Okay. Within the structured query language, there are subgroups which are also referred to as categories, and these include data definition language. Data definition language, or DDL, is used to create or define data types, structures, objects, and so on. So when you are dealing with defining the structure of the database, you use a data definition language. The key statements in data definition language are create, for example, create table, create database, create constraint, and so on. Then there is also alter, which is used to modify or to make changes to existing database structures. Drop is used to delete database objects or to remove certain parts of the database structure. The other category is data manipulation language. Okay, data manipulation language is used to manipulate data that is in the database objects. Some of the data manipulation language statements include insert statement, which is used to insert new rows in tables. Update is used to modify some of the rows which are already in the database, and delete is used to delete rows from tables. Okay, so you need to make a distinction between drop and delete. Drop is a data definition language. Delete is a data manipulation language. So what I mean is this: if you drop a table, you are saying you delete the table. But if you say delete table, you are removing the information in that table. The table itself is going to remain intact. There's data control language. Data control language is used to control the data access to the database. This can be used to assign or revoke permissions and rights to users of the database. Then there's data query language, which is used to query data from the database. And in this one, that's where we use the select statement, which we'll be using a lot, okay? Okay, yeah, this is another question. You can look at it in your spare time and see if you can get it. Now, one of SQL Server comes with a number of tools. You are not going to be working directly with the database engine. It will provide you with tools that you can use to access the data which is in the database. And one of the most important tools is the SQL Server Management Studio, or SSMS. And this is the software that you'll be using to query data from the database, to create objects, to create, to interrogate database from the database. And most of the work that we're going to do will be done in the Management Studio. It also provides us options for you to be able to view results of queries from the database. Now, it has a number of important parts, which the first one is on the right-hand side. This is called the Solution Explorer. And you are going to use this when you start doing a bit of programming, writing codes, and so on. The query editor is the central part where you'll be typing your queries so that you can retrieve data from the database or create database objects. You can also have templates explorer where you can have you can create like blueprints of objects so that you can quickly create similar objects when you need to. You can also have the registered server here, where you can have servers which are accessible to you from the Management Studio. So these servers could be located on the same machine or on different machines. There's Object Explorer, which you can use to view the objects such as databases, tables, user accounts, and so on for the selected installation of a database. Then you also have dynamic help, which you can use to help you maybe forget something or you don't know how to do a certain task. You find that it's going to provide context-sensitive help to ensure that you're able to use your database effectively. And that's just a brief description of those components. So let me now just start the Management Studio. So that's my Management Studio. I've just put put the barest minimum. I have the object explorer and the central part, which will be the query editor. And for now, that's all. So if I am to start using the database, I can just go to the toolbar on top and click on New Query. And that's going to give me some working space where I can begin to do the work that I want. For example, I can issue commands, maybe to create a database. If you look at the objects in the Object Explorer, there's an object named Databases, which will show you all the available databases on this one. So if I want to create a database, I can say create database, and I can call it student DB. Okay. So once I do that, then I can run this query. And once this has been done, I get feedback here. There are messages telling me the command was completed successfully, and it showed me the time it took and when this command was executed. If I go to the Explorer window, I might not be able to see the database. They are in alphabetical order. What the reason is I need to refresh that it gets all the new objects which have just been created. So when I refresh, then I'll find my new database there. This new database is going to have the basic layout, such as a table, column, sorry, a folder for tables. But if you open it, you'll see that I haven't yet created any tables. Views, there are no views which I've created apart from the system views. These are the system views. If I want to check on service broker, then you can see the messages, the queues, and so on. So that's how you can create a database in Management Studio. If I want to use a specific database, such as the AdventureWorks database, which is there, I need to use a command, use, then the name of the database. Okay, so now you can see there that it has selected. So now I can, for example, check for information which is about departments in a table called okay, as you can see, I'm typing and it's underlining. The reason is that there's a facility called IntelliSense, and I'll just update it so that it's able to tell me the correct information. So I update the local cache. So here I'm trying to open these tables, a lot of tables. And the table I'm interested in is this one. Okay, so I want to view the information from this table. I'll explain the syntax later. So once I run that query, I'm able to see the columns, rows, which are making up my data, my table. Any questions, quick questions? I have less than 1 minute. Or you can ask me on the WhatsApp group if you have any questions. And I need to stop here for now.